Good afternoon, Dr. Blanson. How are you?
Good afternoon, Helen. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Perfect.
Welcome, everybody, to our first ever virtual President Candidate Forum at Lone Star College. It's been an exciting 9 months here getting to this point. The Search Advisory Committee started out in January, being appointed by the Chancellor, reviewed applications during spring break, came back expecting to be able to meet together and meet the candidates and get the search going. We finished up in about May. Things changed. We switched virtual. Our search advisory committee stuck with us through the whole process, and our candidates did too. So we appreciate everybody's flexibility on this. I see we have over 70 participants online right now, and I'm sure more will be showing up. So what we're going to do is have Dr. Blanson kick it off. He's going to be talking to us for a while, and then we'll open it up to questions. You can submit your questions to the Q&A function on the WebEx, and 4 of our committee members will serve as moderators. And that is Dr. Marie Morrison, Dean of Instruction, Professor J.R. Wilson, History Professor, Darlene Luce from the President's Office, and Juan Nicanor from Financial Aid. And so they will take your questions and present them to Dr. Blanson. We have an hour. So with that, we're going to kick it off. Welcome, Dr. Blanson, to North Harris. Anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much. Glad to be here. I want to thank everyone for logging in today. I know you have a busy schedule, and I really do appreciate participating in this activity. Let me just start off by saying it is an honor to have served for the last 9 months as interim president at North Harris. When I first got here, I really did not know what to expect. I began to meet with people, staff, and the president's cabinet. And, you know, it's a tough act to follow when you're following a very popular president like Dr. Napolis. But it quickly dawned on me that everyone was here for the same reason that I wanted to be here, and that's student achievement, student success. They have done, the staff, faculty, and everyone has done everything I've asked them to do since I've been here. I've asked them to work harder. I've asked them to work as a team, not as individuals. I've asked them to work on weekends. I've asked them to do all types of things that were uncomfortable, to think outside of the box, to be creative, to make sure that if they have an idea that they bring it to their supervisor so we can flesh it out and give it a shot. And so I am extremely happy with the work that we've done here since January. When I got here, we were in a decline for enrollment, contact hours, and number of students. Before COVID, we were in the positive. I think we were 8% down from the previous year. By the time we left to go home for COVID, we were in the positive, maybe 1%, a little over 1%. We were on a good run until COVID hit. I still think that we have a lot of work to do. I'm extremely proud of the programs that we've added since I've been here. We've added 8 new programs, 8 new classes. We have classes for someone who want to spend a short period of time in the classroom and get to work. We have 2-week courses in CE. We just added 8-week course for HVAC, and we have the traditional transfer courses. One of the things that I noticed when I got here, and this could be at any college, is that we have to tell our story. We have to tell why are we a good fit for the community. And we're a good fit because the cost. We're a good fit because of proximity. We're a good fit because even if you don't want to get an associate degree or now a bachelor's degree, you can get a certificate. No matter what you do in the world in terms of employment, this community college can help you be successful. If you're interested in the 8 weeks HVAC certificate, you know, guess what? That's going to move you from going to work with uncle and making $8 an hour to maybe making $14 to $15 an hour doing 2 weeks of coursework and study. Those are the type of things that we need to get out. And over the last 9 months, we've done a lot of that. We've been in the high schools. We've done countless campaign initiatives with system office and our campus. We've met with high school principals. We visited with the superintendent at Aldine and superintendent at Spring. We met with Aldine superintendent and her cabinet last week. We wanted to make sure that we had all the infrastructure in place to make sure that we were fulfilling her wish. And her wish was to have all of her high school seniors graduate with at least 6 hours. And we have the infrastructure in place. Now they're working on the marketing part of what they want to do. We had Spring ISD approach us a couple of months ago about a barbering program. We're initiating that. We know that dual credit is definitely the way to go. We know that there's competition out there now because everything is online. It's so much easier for parents to shop around and put their child in a different type of environment. It's our job, North Harris's job, to make sure that we market ourselves. And, I've heard comments about we've changed, we're different, demographics. Here's what I know. All I know is the high schools are graduating the same number of students or more. Now, whether they decide to go to college, community, 4-year college, 2-year college, go to work, whatever the case might be, the number of bodies are the same, which means that if we're going to hold true to, we can help any person when they finish high school or even after high school, then we have to go after those students. We have to go after those students that we can bring to North Harris and help train for 2 weeks or 2 months, or get a certificate, or get an associate, or to get a bachelor's degree. We want to make sure that whatever reason they came here in the beginning, that we help them succeed. If it's just to take a CE course, so be it. If it's for a certificate, so be it. If it's for a degree, our job is to help them. So anyway, that's my opening statements, and I'm ready for any questions that you all might have. Helen?
Great. I just sent a note to everybody, the 101 participants we have right now, that you should feel free to start entering your questions. I'm not seeing any so far on my screen. Maureen Morrison, Dr. Morrison is going to lead off with the first question when they start coming in.
Okay.
So we're waiting for people to send in questions now. I know.
Well, let me talk about my priorities, if that's okay. My priorities, and it was January, and the priorities are still going to be the same for this upcoming year. And I know this is going to sound redundant to the majority of the people that's out there, but I want to make sure that that the enrollment, we tackle the problem of enrollment. That is the elephant in the room. It's been the elephant in the room since I've been here. We've got to enhance our enrollment. We have to increase our enrollment. Enrollment is tied to budget. It's tied to everything. If we fix enrollment, we will fix the budget. We've had to reduce our budget, but that goes hand in hand with enrollment. I mean, you don't need as much if you don't have the same number of students. So my goal this year is, even though right now we're about 6%, a little over 6% down in enrollment, my goal is to make sure that by this time next year, we're up 10%. So that's a swing from 6% to 0 back to 10%. That's over a 16% increase. I think it can be done. One of the things we talked about in our cabinet meeting is we have to take responsibility for getting students here and not rely on high schools to send students here, which means that we're going to send our people out to visit with the high school seniors and high school juniors. We're not going to sit back and just wait and hope that the counselors send them the application to talk to them about FAFSA. And I know they do that, but you have to keep in mind the primary purpose of the high schools, and I did almost 40 years in the high schools, is to move them out and graduate them. Our job is to come in before they graduate and convince them that this is the best option for them to get additional training. Our job is to support our community and help our community prosper. And that's what we really want to do. And then the second one would be completion. We want to make sure that our students complete what they started, which I talked about earlier. And finally, the success rate. If we're going to ask people to come back and ask students to come back and to buy what we're selling, and we're selling education, that's what we're doing, then we have to make sure that they're successful in the classroom. And now there's always going to be that student who's not going to do what they need to do and all of that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about connecting with students to make sure they are successful, connecting whatever way we know how and whatever way we can to make sure they are successful. Because all the recruiting and all the hard work that student success department does won't do any good if the student is not successful in the classroom. They won't come back. And we spend all of this time and effort working with students, getting new students, but we have this huge number that we need to keep here and not let go somewhere else and not let drop out or stop out. So those are three things that we're going to focus on this year. Enrollment enhancement, we're going to focus on completion, and we're going to focus on success. Any questions, Helen?
Great. That's the questions are starting to come in now. So Marie Morrison, Dr. Morrison, could you ask the first one?
Dr. Blanson, can you please talk about your teaching experience?
I sure will. I started out, let me just go back to public ed. I started out teaching at Aldine Senior High, which is right off the freeway, 1979. Taught American history. I was a political science major. And so I did that. When I got my doctorate, I began teaching at Texas A&M. I've taught just about every course that you can teach in education administration, supervision, personnel, foundations, curriculum. My doctorate is in curriculum and instruction. From there, I moved to University of St. Thomas. I was assistant professor there for 3 years. I taught all of the C&I courses, the entire curriculum, developed the modules for Blackboard. Same thing at A&M. It was my job. Every professor had to develop their own work. We didn't have someone we could hand it to and create. So from the reference material to the actual bringing it live, it was our responsibility. I was a university supervisor at HBU. That was the last appointment that I had before I came here. I taught personnel management, University of Houston, taught there also. Taught at Prairie View off and on for about 5 years. Again, every course in administration, every course in curriculum and instruction. So I have about 15 years of teaching experience. Of which about almost four was a staff assistant professor. Loved it, absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Juan, could you take the next question, please? And I'm going to let you all, our moderators, just take questions without my jumping back in.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, Dr. Blanson, we have a comment and a question that came in. It goes as, I really like the COVID practices here at Student Services. Thank you for making that a priority. Will we keep these practices for spring 2021? Also, do we foresee classes being mostly online and hybrid in the spring? Thank you.
Well, if I had, that's a decision that the chancellor is going to have to make. But if I had to make a guess, I suspect right now that's the direction we're going to be moving. For the spring, everything that we have in place now will roll over to the spring, but then obviously that's Dr. Head's call on that. We spent a lot of time. I mean, by the time you guys came back, we have spent countless hours, and I say we, not just North Harris, but the Chancellor's Cabinet spent countless time and hours in revisions of plans or in modification of plans. And so for right now, we're going to go into the spring with the same type of outlook.
Thank you, Dr. Blanson.
Sure.
Our next question is, again, it's a combination. It is a challenge to increase enrollment, yet keep students from being set up for failure when they enroll in more classes than they can handle successfully. So how do we keep this from happening?
Well, I think the first thing is advising. We have to know where these students are, their strengths, and not set them up for failure. That's why it's so important before any student registers, particularly first time in college or first time to taking a course here, that we know exactly what their strengths are and look at their high school transcripts. And you're absolutely correct. We need to make sure that they are successful. And I would love for students to take 12 hours or one more hour. If we have a campaign, take a campaign and just add one more class. But that's not what we want to do. We don't want to set a student up for failure. So the bottom line is, are they getting good advice? Are they getting advising from our student services department? And I think if we do that, we can prevent students from failure. But we also have to make sure they're successful in the courses that they're taking, whether it's 6 hours, 15 hours, or whatever the case might be. They still need to be able to make a connection with the professor.
Thank you.
Dr. Blanson, I have a question here. Actually, it's from one of our faculty in the social sciences division. And he says, I agreed with Dr. Blanson that our enrollment needs to be increased. How specifically does he intend to achieve this goal? Is working with high schools the only option on the table?
No, it's not the only option on the table, but that is a big source of where our students come from. Also working with the community leaders. I mean, we have a lot of classes in which our CE department offered that we want our community to come over and take as well. We have we're going to work with our businesses in offering courses that they can send their employees over to home in, particularly at our over at East Aldine center. So it's going to be a community, but it's also going to be campus, high schools, school districts, dual credit, marketing. It's going to be a lot of different things. So not just working with the high schools, but that is a big part of it.
I'm going to jump in here for a second. For those of you in the audience, some of you are sending your questions via chat directly to the host, Clint Aylander. He's having to copy and paste those back in so that our moderators can see them. So if you could send them to the whole group or come in through the Q&A, that'll make it a little easier for us to be able to ask those questions. Thanks so much.
We have to make sure that we tell the story in this community. We look at all of the high schools that we serve, and we look at all of the population and demographics in this area. We just have to tell everyone why. You know, we had great success in getting students who normally would be going to four-year institution to take a class over the summer because we did such a good marketing job. And so I want to make sure that we are exposed to all facets of the community, not just the high schools, but folks who may be going to four-year college who can take a course online as well. So I want North Harris to be broadened as much as we can.
Dr. Blanson, what is your vision for the rebranding of the North Harris campus? That is mascot, fresh innovative strategies in recruitment, retention, and outreach. Okay.
The mascot, I don't see any rebranding that need to be done with the mascot. Shirley explained to me the history. For a couple of months, I just didn't understand what the mascot, the Cat 5, and so I sat down with Shirley and she shared with me exactly what it was. I don't see any issue with that at all. The rebranding, I don't know whether it's a rebranding or not. I think it has more to do with, you know, that we're here and here's what we have to offer. You know, I've made this statement a number of times. I lived for 30 years up until about 4 years ago, literally right across the street. And I didn't always know what was going on here. Now that was my fault because, you know, I was going to work, coming home, going to work. We need to make sure that we get more involved in the community and let them know what we have to offer here. I mean, we're starting a scaffolding program that's 2 weeks long. I mean, we have to make sure that when we start these programs, that we share it with the community. And the bachelor's program, I know the system office has done a great job with the bachelor's program. We have a lot of folks with associate degrees who are interested in coming back and getting their bachelor's degree. Now they don't have to go to University of Houston or some other college or university. We just need to make sure that we continue to market what we have, what we offer, and explain why we're a good fit. And I think we've done that to a certain degree up until now.
Dr. Blanson, I have your next question ready.
Sure.
It goes, good afternoon. I understand maintaining and keeping students is our top priority, but we are very shorthanded on the front of student services. Will there be a higher period to bring in that help to assist students to the best of our ability? Thank you.
Well, right now we are in the middle of a hiring freeze, and it's understandable. We don't need to bring additional people on. Sometimes, though, part of resolving the problem is not money, it's not personnel. It's looking at what we're doing and how we're doing it, and making it reassignment, reevaluating processes, and those types of things. So if we have issues in student services where we're not reaching and achieving our goals, then the next step would be to make sure that the VP for student success is aware of it, and she and I will sit down and talk about getting it resolved. But it's not always personnel. Just using the personnel that you have in a more efficient way. So I'm more than willing to sit down with VP SS to discuss that.
Thank you. I have your next question. So Dr. Blanson, based on your experience as an instructor
Yes.
and your recent experience as an administrator in the midst of the present health crisis, please describe your approach to ensuring that student success in the online or blended learning environment. How is that improving at North Harris College?
Well, I think I understand the question, but when we shifted to 100%, for the most part, 100% online, we had professors and we had instructors who had never done that before. And I was absolutely amazed at how quickly they learned, how quickly their peers assisted. And I looked at the success rate in June, and the success rate was higher than it was in the fall semester. I think we've made strides. I think everyone has gotten additional training on D2L, and I think it's going to be a success. We just have to make sure that we stay connected with our students. We have to make sure that we answer their questions in a timely manner within 48 hours or less, and make sure that they're successful in the classroom. And I think we can do that if we just focus on the assignments, good instruction, answering questions, and connecting with our students.
Doctor, excuse me.
Yes.
All in your ear. Question that I have, and actually it may be a compound question.
Okay.
I know that one of the questions that I had earlier, in fact, from one of our deans, was for you to talk about your teaching experience, your actual frontline experience. And then more to the point of this particular question is, your predecessor replaced all vice presidents and half the deans within 2 years of arriving. What can you tell the present VPs and deans about your future plans?
Well, I'm in a unique position, and I've worked with all these folks for the last 5 months. And I'm not just saying this, but I am extremely happy with the leadership. I said in my opening statement, everything that we've asked everyone to do, and we've asked them to do a lot with the new interim president coming in, the pandemic also. We've asked them to do a lot from their homes, to come up on campus, to work checkpoints, to do a lot of things. And not one person had said no. Not one person in leadership role has said no. So I'm a firm believer, if something is not right, I address it and move on, because problems don't resolve themselves. And in the areas in which we needed some tweaking, I've made those tweaks for me. So I'm happy with everyone. And Professor Jay, can you repeat the first part?
And the first part was, will you tell us about something about your teaching experience, your actual frontline teaching experience?
Well, I can tell you that I enjoyed it. I can tell you that there were always students I had to work with in terms of getting their assignments done. And I only taught graduate level. I didn't teach any undergraduate. I taught master's and doctoral level classes, and there were always students there in my classes who had an excuse for the work. But the bottom line is, I would remind them that the expense that they've incurred in being in that class. I've had to go above and beyond in terms of meeting students on weekends, extending deadlines, bending deadlines, those type of things. My goal was to help the student become successful in my classroom, and I didn't want anyone to fail. Did I give students F's? I sure did, but nowhere near as much as the A's that they made in my classroom. It was a great experience for me. I really enjoyed it.
Dr. Blanson, what steps do you have in mind to reach out to the minority community, increase enrollment, and embrace the cultural differences?
Well, we are a minority campus when you look at the demographics. Our job is to make sure that we have programs that service any group, minority or not. We do know that we've had inquiries at East Alding, for instance, about our HVAC program. Well, we added that program strictly because a couple of people came up to the campus and asked if we could add it. And we said, absolutely, we can add it. We'll start out with a certificate, and then we'll move, if need be, we'll move to an associate. And so we are going to serve the community regardless of the demographics. We can do that by offering a variety of courses, CE, transfer, whatever the case might be. But we tried to do polls and determine what the campus wanted. We were working with Baker Ripley also to augment what they're doing in terms of ESL courses and so on. So we're in tune with the community. We just need to work harder, always work harder in trying to reach the community.
Dr. Blanson, I have your next question ready.
Sure.
Where do you see LSC-North Harris in 5 years? Thank you.
That is a very good question, and I've shared this with the cabinet also. I want North Harris, and I guess every president does, to be the flagship. This is the original campus. This is a gorgeous campus. It's huge. It's big. There are trees and plants and flowers. It is a beautiful campus, and I expect our enrollment to be about 17,000, 18,000 students at that time. I hope that by then we've expanded our dual credit to where we're bursting at the seams. I hope by then we will have early college for Nimitz High School. Hopefully we can work with them to do something like that. I'm one of those people who believe that every high school need to be connected with an early college. I need to have an early college in the school district. And right now we don't have that with Nimitz High School. And you can, from a logistics standpoint, you can't do it with every high school. But I see us being the leader in workforce, transfer credits, just being a place where students, anyone can come. And even if it's just CE, continuous education courses, or 2 weeks course, or a seminar on how to prepare your taxes, I want this to be the destination place for education.
Thank you. Dr. Blanson, what are the plans for reaching out to the Hispanic community, specifically processes for educating families on the benefits of an education or training beyond high school, financial aid process, etc.?
Well, I think part of that start in high school, and that's part of what we want to do. You know, when I was vice chancellor, we started the Lone Star Academy, which is for 5th grade and 6th graders, and we were going to stair step it all the way up. You know, by the time a high school student get into 11th grade, 12th grade, maybe even 10th grade, they've already decided for the most part whether they want to go to college or go to work. And we started the academy because we wanted them to hear the fact that they can attend college. We want to be able to explain it. You know, we did a dual credit WebEx this summer just for parents because we wanted the parents to know about dual credit. And so we also want the parents to know what the definition is, the true definition is of financial aid. You know, we have students who think that financial aid means loans only. I mean, we have 6 or 7 different grants out there that you can get, and there's scholarships and on and on and on. And so our job is going to be to educate. I love the high schools. They are hardworking people. I supervise them for years, but we have to make sure that we get access to those students in this 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, and tell our story. And so that's how we're going to reach out. We're going to go in and tell our story about financial aid, about scholarships. And you don't have to come here and get an associate degree. You don't have to come here and get a bachelor's degree. We would love for you to do that, but start off small and work your way up.
Dr. Blanson?
Yes.
I think that we have a continuing theme here in this next question in terms of our connection with the community and how we make closer relationship with the community, and perhaps how we bring the community into the college and outreach and recruiting to families and the community. The question specifically is, Dr. Blanson, I believe that marketing and reaching out to the community is the way to go. However, I believe that we need to educate the community on the importance of education to bring students in. What are your thoughts on achieving this?
It's almost like that person took the quotes out of my mouth that I said Sunday. There's a value in education. You know, I come from a family in Louisiana, and, you know, my mother finished 6th grade. My father finished 3rd grade. They both were literate, very smart people. But they always said, continue your education, finish high school, go to college. There is some value in education, and not just the economic part by itself. There's social value also, Dr. J, and you know that, and being able to sit and converse with you about politics and government and those type of things. That's the value of being able to be a critical thinker. We need to make sure that we serve on community-based committees also. Baker Ripley and the YMCA and all of those different organizations. Greater Greenspoint District, I serve on that committee. I've served on just about every committee you can think of in the north part of town. That's when you begin to make impact, because you begin to make connections, you begin to meet people and spread your message out to them. So I totally agree with that individual. I don't know who said it, but there is some value in education. We have to make sure that everyone understands what that value is. And part of it is being able to prosper.
Thank you, Dr. Blanson. Your next question is, the biggest issue I have come across with students is the difficulties of online learning. How to find the dedicated time and space to study and ultimately be successful. Do you have any guidelines in place that we can share with our students to help them?
In terms of how to study, there are a number of resources out there that Dr. Smith, Dwight Smith, has sent out in terms of resources to help students work online. But again, working online is just like working in the classroom. You have to be dedicated and committed to come to class and do the work. You still have to be dedicated to open up your link, to work on your modules, to turn in the assignments on time. But there are a lot of resources out there, and we can make sure that we publish it again if we need to, but we have tons of resources that will assist our students. One of the things that I want to make sure that we focus on, and I keep bringing up high school, and I say that because that is not the place where we get all of our students, but it's a great feeder. So many times we do things and we leave out parents And that's not what I want to do. I want parents to be involved in everything that we do. I want parents to be educated because parents are the influencers for their students help them decide whether they're going to go to college, whether they're going to decide whether they're going to go to work or college on the weekends. All of that is the parent play a big role in it also. And I don't want us to get into a situation where we're bypassing the parents and going straight to the students all the time. We can definitely, there are instances where we need to do that, but we need to bring the parents along also. We need to tag team these students when they get in 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade so they can make informed decisions. And of course, it's never too late. You can always come back. But if there's scholarships available out there, we want to make sure that the parents know that and the support that Lone Star College North Harris will have for their students, or for their children, rather.
All right, Dr. Blanson, I have your next question ready.
Hmm?
How are we going to bring innovation to North Harris? Is that a priority? Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Innovation is definitely a priority. And if you have any ideas, you make sure you submit them to your supervisor or send them to me. I'm all for it. I tell my cabinet all the time, think outside of the box. Make sure that if you have any ideas, let's vet it. We'll vet it in cabinet meeting. We'll give it a shot. The most important thing is that if it doesn't work, you discard it and you move on to something else. If it does work, you scale it and you move forward. So I am open to any ideas, and trust me, I get emails on a regular basis about we should do this and we should do that, and I look at them all and I respond to each and every one of them. So if you have any ideas, please send them to me. I'm all for it.
So next question is, how will you continue to integrate the missions of grant-based programs into Lone Star's future success?
Oh, grant! It will be an integral part of what we do. You know, we're working on a grant now with the Department of Education to do a pilot program. I'm not sure where it's going to be funded, but we're going to apply. I want to make sure that every school in Spring ISD, every high school in Aldine on this side of town, is a high school that we service anyway. I want to do a pilot program to see if we can get more students in dual credit. Right now, the student have to pay for the dual credit to be added to their transcript. And I want us to have a grant. I want us to write a grant. I'm in the process of doing it now, so that we can offer this to the high schools to see if there's interest in terms of expanding dual credit. So grant is a very important part. If you look at the amount of money that we get on a regular basis, it's very, very, very important to the operations of Lone Star. So I'm in full support of it. Absolutely.
Okay. I think this is the next question. I'm having a bit of technical difficulty sometimes. Through that, it's me. It is me. What's your vision in regards to growing employees and helping them achieve their career goals within North Harris or the system?
Okay, well, that is a very good question, and I want to reference the diversity committee that work that we did submitted to the chancellor a couple of weeks ago. Now there was a statement in there about being able to show an employee their career path once they're hired. Any employee, it didn't specify just minority employee, but any employee. When I set foot on this campus, when a new employee set foot on this campus, they need to know where this job could possibly lead or not possibly lead. Is this a quote unquote dead end job? If I want to be dean, am I in the right position? If you want to be dean of fine arts, you're probably not in the right position if you're doing some other type of work. You probably need to be in the instructional area. And so we want to make sure that we will educate folks on career path. This is a career path. And so this may not be the job for you, but if it is, then so be it. But we want to educate folks. The other part is the mentoring program. I want to do that also. I want us to start a mentoring program at North Harris so that if someone decides they want to be a dean or want to be a full-time professor, who maybe is currently working in advising, they can shadow and learn from the existing dean or the person who has the position now. So there are many academies that the system office sponsor on a yearly basis, and so I think in combination of all of those can help any individual move their career and grow. So,
Dr. Blanson,
yes.
in your own words, what makes LSC North Harris so special, and why do you feel you are the best candidate for this position?
Well, it's special because, to me now, in my own words, because I've had a connection with North Harris for over 40 years. The Victory Early College, I was involved in the in developing the Victory Early College, the East Aldine Early College. I've worked with Dr. Head and his staff, and before Dr. Head became chancellor, in terms of building East Aldine, build credit programs. I have a really good a feel for the pulse of this campus and for the community. I've lived here for 30 years, and so I know what the community needs, and I know exactly who's in the community and how to reach out and get them to participate. I think one of the things that we need to do more often, and I know we did this in fine arts because I would come to the Christmas plays and recitals and those type of things. I want the campus, once we get back to normal, I want the campus to be more open, more inviting. I want us to have more open house activities where people in the community can come out and see what we do, when we do it, how we do it. So I want to build on that also. So I think I'm the best candidate for the job because I know the superintendents, I know the community, and I've been here for 9 months, and I think I have a pretty good feel for what needs to happen, and I just want to continue the work that we started and to see it through.
Dr. Blanson, I have your next question ready. Could you discuss the most important decision you have made in the last 7 months to support student services with this move to online services? Thank you.
The most important decision I've made, well, I guess probably the most important one was when I asked Dr. Head to allow me to come back early, and he agreed to it, and then there was a resurgence of outbreaks. Because I knew what that meant. That meant putting some of our folks at risk. We wanted to come back in July. He gave us permission to do so. We had a very strong program in place in terms of plan, in terms of how we're going to protect everyone, and he really put that on the table. So that was, I didn't lose sleep over that, but I knew that our purpose was to help students become successful. And I looked at the work that the workforce had done in terms of in very few cases. I think we went 3 or 4, maybe 5 weeks with no cases. And then when we did, we have 2 or 3 cases. We were on it quickly, and we responded. So in terms of student services, the most important decision was to ask for permission to come back earlier than the other departments.
Let's see, I'm looking for our next question. I'm not sure we have one.
But Darlene, I'm not seeing any more questions either in the chat.
I have a question.
Okay.
That was sent privately. Dr. Blanson, this is from our PSSA president. With so many changes over the past few months due to COVID, increased workloads for many, concerns about returning to campus, and the challenges that go along with attempting to resume some normalcy in this trying time, overall, staff morale may be lower than prior to COVID. What are your thoughts from the perspective of an administrator on how to increase morale during this time?
You know, you're absolutely right. We've asked everyone to do more. The workload has changed. Everyone's doing more. But I think, you know, my position has always been, you know, you go visit people, you walk the campus, you walk the departments, and you let people know how they are doing. The mayor of New York back in the 70s, Mayor Koch, used to ask, how am I doing? How am I doing? Well, I believe in letting people know how they're doing, and pat them on the back. You know, there's no amount of money, there's no amount of time off that you can give someone that will substitute a good praise and a pat on the back. I think we can build morale by respecting others, by respecting what you do. And every opportunity that I get when I go through the buildings now, and I see someone who's working the station, who's working the check-in station, you know, they don't have to be there. They could have opted to stay at home. I want them to know how I feel about that, and I want them to know that I appreciate they're going the extra mile. And in this case, they're going the extra 2 miles. And they're coming to work, but they really didn't have to, and they're working under COVID circumstances. So I just want to make sure that if there are morale issues, that we address them. If you have any ideas, I would be more than glad to sit down with anyone and talk about how we can improve morale. But I just know we have dedicated, hardworking people that need to be told on a regular basis when they're doing a good job. And I don't mean just passing those compliments out just because I see someone. I mean because they are truly doing an excellent job. And that's what we've had here in North Harris. And we respect the fact that you are doing more than, you know, your job responsibilities and your job description calls for.
Dr. Blanson,
Yes.
was I next? I see a question. I see two questions that link together. I kind of lost track there for a moment, and I hope I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. Anyway, two questions that link together. One says, please explain why there was a change in protocol of protected exposure, I assume referring to our COVID protocol. Please explain why there was a change in protocol of protected exposure. And then the other question is in regards to returning to campus, the infection rate and reportings have stopped being sent out to employees. Is there a reason for this? Was this a system decision or campus-based?
Protected exposure. What was the second one?
Yes, sir. Please explain why there was a change in protocol of protected exposure.
Yes, sir.
And then the second question begins in regard to returning to campus, the infection rate and reportings have stopped being sent out to employees. Is there a reason for this? Was this from system or campus decision?
Well,
Those returning on campus are concerned about those numbers.
Okay, so I've not sent any infection rate numbers out to anyone, so I'm not sure where that number is coming from. I will tell you with the protocol in terms of protected exposure, you know, at the beginning of COVID, we wanted to make sure that we did everything that we could to support our healthcare workers in terms of getting them finished with their clinicals, getting them through their program, getting them their license so they can help with this outbreak. And so we made sure that we did everything to support that. They were limited in terms of the number of people they were around when they came on this campus. Now we have a lot more folks on this campus, and so we had to tighten that protected exposure up a little bit. And now that we've done that, we want to make sure that we keep in mind that we need to protect more people, because if you're going in and out of an environment where you have possibly been exposed, then you could infect more individuals. The second part, I don't know where that information came from in terms of the infection rate. It wasn't sent by the president's office.
All right, Dr. Blanson, I have your next question, and I'm just going back just to make sure we got every single question. And if we may have missed anyone, if you can please input in, we'll definitely ask. The question is, let me see here. Other than the focus on the ISDs, early college or dual credit, what other plans do you have to increase the number of students who transfer to universities successfully and quickly? Thank you.
Yeah, well, it goes back to our marketing strategy. Our plan is to make sure that we market to every possible neighborhood in this service area, to every possible business in this neighborhood. We sent out flyers before COVID hit, and we were going to have a summit with the local businesses, Baker Hughes, Halliburton, and so on, to make sure that they understood that we were here to provide services for their employees, whether they wanted the class taught at their facility or they want to bring people here. Our job is to make sure that we let people know in the community, let businesses, let the ISDs, let all of the different entities in the community, even the social service agencies know that we're here and to share with them the variety of courses that we offer. And if we're not offering something that they want, then we can work with workforce vice chancellor, associate vice chancellor, and to make it happen. So we just need people to know that you tell us what your needs are, and we can help fulfill them.
Dr. Blanson, I have your next question. Are there any plans to create a vocational early college high school program or incorporate vocational programs into an existing early college high school program?
I've not had any discussions with it at all about that, so I'm not sure where it's coming from, but if someone wants to share with me the big picture, I'd be more than glad to listen. But no, there's been no discussions about that.
Dr. Blanson, I have your next question.
Okay.
What are your strategies regarding serving underprepared student populations? Are we currently providing best practices? Would you recommend any strategies for improvement?
For underserved students, particularly like first time in college, I think the key is going to be case management. That's one of the things that I've asked our student services department to do, to look at for this upcoming year, is to make sure that we case manage all of our different groups in our system. The first time in college group, they need to have one person that communicate with them, that touch base with them, that service them, and direct them to whatever service that they may need. But I believe in the case management system, because now I can go to one person and talk to about why are we having such high turnover in your area as opposed to another one. So that's going to be my approach, is case manage every student that comes on this campus. You know, one of the things that I really want to happen is I want our students to feel connected. And they can feel connected in the classroom, but they need to feel connected outside of the classroom. We have 32 different clubs on this campus, some of which are departmental clubs associated with their field of study. Some of them are social organizations. But I know from living on campus myself as an 18-year-old, it is so important to feel that you belong to something and you're connected to something. And so that's why I want to start a campaign this fall, to make sure that every child, every student, let me stop calling them children, but every student is connected to some organization on this campus, whether they're servicing, whether they're connected. And I think we've added 2 different organizations since I've been here, and we're probably going to add one in a couple of weeks, the Promise Group also. But they need to feel connected to something other than just coming to school, going home, coming to work, going to school, going home. I want them to feel a part of the college. The other thing is we're going to use those same students we talked last week to a group about becoming ambassadors for the college. And I'm not, I know we have ambassadors on campus, but I mean those students who've been successful, maybe first time in college, maybe, not necessarily, but in the workforce, who've been in the workforce for 2 to 3 years. So they're still in that quote unquote age group, maybe 23, 24 years old or so. They can come back and help us go out to those high schools and help relate to those students. You know, when they see someone with white hair or see someone that's much older than they are, they just go and shake their heads like, well, it's, you know, this guy, one more old person told me what to do and what I should be doing. I want to make sure that we have a team of ambassadors or former graduates of North Harris that will go with our team to help recruit, regardless of where it is, whether it's a charter school, public school, in the community, at the church, whatever the case might be. We're going to open all avenues, every place where we can recruit, every place where we can make an impact, every place where we can share and tell our story and what we offer, we're planning to do it.
Dr. Blanson?
Yes.
I don't see that there's an additional question that came in, but I have a question I wanted to ask.
Sure.
If you could please share your plans or ideas to encourage more students to apply and complete the FAFSA/TASFA application. Thank you.
I have assigned, it's a very good question because, I have assigned one person the responsibility of working with students. By the time they get here and they get in line to pay their fees, our students, some of them have this bright idea that, okay, well, I have money from graduation, I have money in my bank account, and I'll just pay for it out of my pocket. I think that's great. I think that's absolutely great. But it doesn't always work out that way. That money that you have in the bank is gone. The first time there's a problem with your automobile, the first time that there's an expense that you didn't account for, that you didn't plan for. Now it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks before your financial aid can come through. Again, before they get here, we've assigned one person to work with the high school and work with the high school designated person to get those things done at the high school. Now, should they be doing it? Absolutely. They should be doing it at the high schools already. I remember plain as day talking with our counselors, making sure they were doing it. Keep in mind, those counselors' job is to get students graduated. That's primary. Not that it's a bad thing what they're doing, but their focus is different than ours. That's why I want to assume some of the responsibilities also. And that's why we're going to be asking the ISDs to give us access to the students so that we can help and we can work also with the counselor and with the parents. And if for whatever reason, there's all types of reasons why students don't do the application, privacy issues. And so we want to make sure that they understand that this is a totally private activity, that nobody is going to be coming to your door, knocking on your door, asking to see you. We want students to be in a safe environment. But if we wait until they show up on this campus, not that it's too late, but it could very well be too late for this semester.
Dr. Blanson, now would be a great time for you to give us a wrap-up statement.
Yes, ma'am. This has been great. I really enjoyed this. We've done something similar on campus a couple of months ago in the middle of COVID. I appreciate your great questions. Now, all I ask you to do is to follow up. If I didn't answer your question, please send me an email. If you have any ideas on how to improve, one of the things you'll learn from me fairly quickly is that I'm open and I'll listen. Send that to me as well. So thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Dr. Blanson. It was a pleasure to spend this time with you. And for those of you in the audience, we sent out a format comment sheet. So if you could complete that and send that back for each of the forums you attend, we will compile those for the chancellor. Again, thank you. And thank you to our moderators for keeping our program going. Thank you to our search advisory committee for getting us here.
Thank you.
that motion.
Thank you.